So on today's video, I have another interesting topic. At least interesting topic for the people that identify like myself, who used to be a former Democrat or a former liberal, who feels the party has left and is currently the progressive party and not the liberal party as it traditionally should be. Doing some of my research, checking here and there, checking some articles, I was curious. I was wondering, since I tend to agree more with libertarians and liberals, who is the most liberal and traditional liberal Democrat? Because if I want to see which Democrat I actually support, and if I can get behind a reasonable Democrat over an authoritarian right, I'll pick him. I'll pick him over any authoritarian right winger. And guess who was the first person? Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin for West Virginia, which the Democrats have been bashing for years. They're telling he's not a Democrat, trying to remove the Democrat card. And funny enough, it is the first person that came up from the questionnaire, because it says, "Oh, several Democrats in office today align more closely with traditional liberalism, focusing on civil liberties, free speech, limited government intervention on personal matters. The only part where the Democrats are liberal is abortion. That's it." And I wanted to bring two topics. The topic of filibuster. For those who might not know, filibuster, it is a critical thing of the constitutional republic. That is one of the things that maintain the U.S. from being a full democracy versus a republic. Some of you might wonder, this could happen to people from both sides. Hey, sometimes the filibuster gets in the way of people passing bills. But keep in mind, the U.S. was designed to move slowly. The U.S. was designed to move slowly and make sure both sides agree, and there was constant communication to prevent things going off rail either to the right or to the left. That way, the entire country is better represented. Guess what Kamala wants to do? Kamala wants to remove the filibuster. And that is the reason Joe Manchin is not going to support her. And as he was saying on an interview, shame on her. She knows the filibuster is the holy grail of democracy. He should say republic. So what does the filibuster really do? The filibuster gives power in the Senate to the minority party, or either side, pretty much, to make sure any bills requires a minimum of 60 senators to support a bill to end the filibuster. So let's say, for example, as things currently stand, the Senate is divided. I think whether Kamala wins or Trump wins, it's going to remain closely divided. Maybe Democrats are going to pick a couple of seats, or maybe Republicans are going to keep a couple of seats, but it's not going to be a significant margin. So if a Republican or a Democrat wants to bring a bill that might not be popular to the other side, one Democrat can come and protest as a minority party and say, hey, no, you need to get the 60 votes in order for this to pass. That way you make sure whatever you pass has enough support around the country, because what matters for California might not matter to Oklahoma, might not matter to Florida, might not matter to Arizona. And that is a huge check that gives significant power to the minority party. Because for those who don't know, China is a one-party system. Cuba is a one-party system. And I think as much as you want to support your party, I don't think nobody should want a single-party system, because that is a recipe for disaster. Why is a recipe for disaster, especially in my opinion, for the left? The left has no boundaries. The left struggles to set boundaries. That's why the progressives hate the liberals, and the liberals refuse to speak whenever they do goofy stuff like they're doing right now. I identify as a libertarian, but I am very close identify with the traditional liberal, even though I disagree with some of the economic plans that they have. I tend to agree with the civil liberties and the limited government, which I think both parties pretty much forgot about what liberal government is. The reason I am bringing this, and also some of the struggles that the liberal have with setting limits, right now in California, they passed a law to prevent voter IDs to vote. Like they removed the barrier that way. Whenever somebody is going to vote, that they're required to show an ID. What kind of nonsense is that? Think about it. You want to go to a club, ID. You want to buy beer, ID. You want to get tobacco, ID. You want to get on a plane, ID. You want to get on a train, ID. You want to drive a car, ID. You want to vote so you can pick the next most important person, or maybe a couple senators. No, just don't vote. And then they wonder why people on the right are extremely skeptical, not conspiracy, not believing nonsense, skeptical about their intentions. I'm sorry, you're allowing X amount of millions of people through the border, and now you're saying you don't want no voter ID in a California state? Why? Either you have malicious intent where you want to allow people that are not supposed to vote, or you just passing nonsense. Because at the same hand, you saying you want more control around guns. I'm sorry, you need an ID for that. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it is that type of behavior that pushes me more away from the current status quo from a Democrat. I personally, if Bobby Kennedy would have been on the ballot, I was considering voting for him. Why? I am tired of this two-party nonsense. I want to change. I'm tired of the division. I'm tired of the people speaking in echo chambers. And I read some of you in the comments, and it sounds like you haven't spoken with somebody from the other side. Go ahead and talk to people. Just because people disagree with you politically doesn't mean they're from another freaking planet. They're just people that just have different interests, and the personality or the interests are represented by somebody else. They're not Hitler. They're not Mao because they disagree with you. And you guys are behaving like that. And then you guys are voting for people who are representing more freaking division. And that doesn't help anyone but the people like China and anyone that wants the US to be destroyed. Stop being stupid. And this goes to both sides. I know I tend to run more on Democrats as of now because I used to identify with the traditional Democrat liberals. But this goes to the right too. Like, I see people defending the way that Trump handled the January 6th. I'm sorry. You should have a high standard for the people that you support. If not, you're just another cheap whoever the Republicans are going to put, you're just going to follow it. Oh, the Republicans said to do this. No. Think for yourself. It is okay that you vote for another person because you feel represented by that person. But that doesn't mean you have to justify it like they're your freaking family. They're not. They don't know you. They don't care about you. They want to be elected, and you need stuff to get done by them. That's why you elect them. And stop loving the freaking politicians like they're your freaking family. Stop with that nonsense. You're all adults now. And I'm going to show another example here. That another thing that I didn't notice is the filibuster used to be you needed 2/3 of the Senate to actually stop the filibuster and actually get something through. But of course, when somebody had the 60 votes, was able to do some workarounds, and they changed it in the 90s, and right now it is 60 senators. But now they want more legislation. They want to remove it with Comrade Kamala. What is that? And I think people fail to realize how the U.S. Republic was designed. That it was designed to. It was never designed to be a democracy. It was never designed to be a democracy. And I'm going to give you with some documents here from John Adams. I'm going to quote him on a letter that he sent. And here is the quote. Remember, democracy never lasts long. It soon wastes, exhausts, and murders itself. There was never a democracy yet that did not commit suicide. It is vain to say that democracy is less vain, less proud, less selfish, less ambitious, or less avaricious than aristocracy or monarchy. It is not true. In fact, and nowhere appears in history.